Hi everyone, Father Lamb here. It's Wednesday, December 15th. Just want to let you know we have about 40 Jingle Bucks tickets left, so if you'd like to have a Jingle Bucks ticket, pick one up this weekend at Mass or call the rectory. Thanks a lot again for your support. Right now we're at the 14th rule of St. Ignatius of Loyola, and he kind of saves his best rule for last. It's a very powerful one. I just like to read it. First he has the metaphor and then the application. So these are the words of St. Ignatius of Loyola. The 14th or final rule. Likewise, he, the enemy, of course he means the devil, conducts himself as a leader, intent upon conquering and robbing what he desires. For just as a captain and leader of an army in the field, pitching his camp and exploring the fortifications and defenses of a stronghold, attacks it at its weakest point. So he talks about the leader of a group of thieves, the bad guys, so to speak, intent upon robbing us of the stronghold. You know, this is a very powerful metaphor if you think about St. Ignatius, because he himself was in a battle, as you know. He fought in the war. He got hit by a cannonball in the leg, and you know that's where he then had to rehab back at his home. In fact, right here from our parish, we took a trip out there a few years ago, and we actually had Mass in that very room where he convalesced. And it's really a beautiful thing, because the only thing he could read there was either the Lives of the Saints or the Life of Christ. And he wanted other books on chivalry and war and all that, but they didn't have them. So as he was convalescing, he was reading the Lives of the Saints and the Life of Christ, and it really completely changed him as a person. So it's powerful that he uses now this sort of image of a battle, like a fort. And the enemy, the devil, is always going to try to get in there at the weakest point, like any leader of any army would try to do. So now he applies this metaphor. In the same way, the enemy of human nature, roving about, looks in turn at all our theological, cardinal, and moral virtues, and where he finds us weakest and most in need for our eternal salvation, there he attacks us and attempts to take us. So the devil looks at all of our defenses for that weakness. Is there a weakness in our prayer life? Is there a weakness in our relationships? Is there a weakness in our energy, our hope? Whatever it is, the tendency where we get discouraged, he's going to go right after us right there. But here's a really cool thing. Ignatius presumes that all of us have that weakness. Everybody. See, there's no shame in that. And a lot of times you and I, we go around our spiritual lives, everybody has a weak point, everybody has an Achilles heel, and we think like, oh, I'm deformed, there's something wrong with me. No, Ignatius is saying this is okay, but we have to fortify that and strengthen that, and that's the key. So as St. Paul says, where you're weak, you're strong. God can take our weakest points, and when you and I strengthen them through grace, through God's help, they can be very strong points. Think, for example, of a stereotype, the proverbial drug addict, who wreaks havoc in their life through drugs and alcohol, hurts people in their lives. But then they get sober, and they're the one that can help people that nobody else can help. So that weakness then becomes the strength. So we need to take those weaknesses then and enhance them so that God's strength can come through. So what's our response to this? How do we deal with this? Sure, we all know we have weak points, but how do we deal with this? Well, you deal with everything that you do spiritually. Your prayer life, going to the sacraments, Ignatius would say, do the consciousness examen at the end of every day. You go to the end of your day and look back on your day of when was it just me trying to deal with life, or when was it me and God trying to deal with life. And then we get an awareness in our lives of how much we need God in our lives and how much we're trying to do things on our own. Really, if you want to look at this, it's really to fight against the enemy. It's like having a toolbox. A man who's working, on houses or whatever, and in that toolbox he has a hammer, he has screws, he has a screwdriver, he has nails, he has all the things he needs to sort of fix something. In the same way, you and I have a spiritual toolbox, and we want to fight against the enemy. We need to get out our toolbox. What's going to work today against the enemy? Well, I need more prayer today. We'll get up earlier, pray more. I need the sacraments. We'll get to confession, go to Mass, go to communion. I need healthy people in my life. I'm feeling isolated. Call up those people in your life who are good for you spiritually. We all have a toolbox, a reservoir of things, and we just need to use them. So the enemy's going to go after us at our weak point. Don't be surprised at that. Fortify that weak point with all the spiritual tools that you have at your disposal. And what's really cool about this last rule, and Ignatius sort of saves it for last, is that all of us have hope. See, that's the really important thing. Because we think, oh, this is too hard, or, I always get attacked at this one point. I always fall into sin. I always screw up. It doesn't have to be that way. At the very end of his 14th rule, he's saying, that's okay. Fortify yourself. Get that toolbox out. It's really important for you and I to realize when we surrender to God, surrender is not a passive thing. Sometimes you think, I surrender and I sit back and let life happen to me. No, not necessarily. Surrender can be very active. I'm surrendering to God. I'm letting go of my sin. I'm surrendering to God, and I'm getting active. I'm allowing myself to use all the tools that are at my disposal of prayer, thanksgiving, gratitude, prayers of petition, sacraments, all those things we can use to fortify ourselves. As we get closer and closer to Christmas, let's take a look at that toolbox. What's the weakest point in your life where you tend to fall into sin and into discouragement and into disarray? Get those tools out and fortify yourself. We're almost at Christmas. We want to welcome Jesus, Emmanuel, God who is with us right now, to give us the strength to make it through the trying times. God bless you.